L-Glutamine has genuinely changed my life, and that is not something that I say lightly. I've been taking L-Glutamine for over a year now, and I'm super excited to share my transformation and all the benefits I've experienced, as well as what we know so far in terms of the research, so you can decide if L-Glutamine is something that you may want to supplement with yourself. So I first heard about L-Glutamine on the Huberman Lab podcast, and Andrew Huberman mentions that he takes between 1 and 5 grams of it when he's starting to feel under the weather. He made it clear that the research on L-Glutamine is not completely clear, but so far results indicate that it may support gut health, immune health, and muscle recovery. And when I heard that, my ears perked up, because at that point I was desperate. I was getting sick about once a month, every single month of the year, even the summer. I was really struggling with recovering from my exercise. Like if I did a 30-minute run, that would wear me down to the point that I needed to take multiple full rest days after that to recover. I was really struggling with bloating, and I knew my gut health wasn't great. I was just not having a good time at this point. So I didn't really care that the research wasn't totally clear and confirmed on L-Glutamine. I didn't care that I maybe was going to be wasting my money. And this is not usually the approach that I take to supplementation, but I have struggled so badly with my immune system, with getting sick, with feeling low energy, with struggling to recover from exercise. I was so sick of being sick, I was willing to do anything. So I decided to give it a try, and I am so glad I did. L-Glutamine is an amino acid which serves as a building block for proteins. It's something that our body naturally produces, but we can also take it in through food or supplements. It's considered a conditionally essential amino acid, which means that our body does produce it, and under normal circumstances, we can usually produce enough of it. But when our body is under stress from exercise or illness, or even just general stress from day-to-day life, it can increase our body's demand for L-Glutamine, and some of us may not be meeting that need by what our body's producing and by what we're eating in our diet. One thing that's really important to keep in mind is that glutamine is one of those supplements that can interact with different medications and isn't going to be a good choice for you if you have certain medical conditions, family histories, things like that. I know everyone always says this with every supplement, but L-Glutamine especially is a really important one to consult your doctor about. It's honestly just not worth taking the risk, trust me. But now I'm going to share my personal experience, the benefits I've experienced. But keep in mind, this is not the same as a scientific experiment, right? Because I was not holding everything else constant in my life and only just adding in the L-Glutamine. I have been making lots of changes in my life over the last 12 months to try and lose fat. I've been on a fat loss journey for now about 15 months. Here's what else I've been up to in the past 12 months that may have contributed or been related to some of the results that I'm going to talk about. I've been eating in a calorie deficit as part of my fat loss. I've also increased my protein and fiber intake. I've been eating a lot more whole foods, so minimally processed foods, things like fruits, grains, and veggies. I've also been drinking a lot more water and started an electrolyte supplement. All these things accumulated in me losing about 25 pounds over the last 15 months. Most importantly though, of course, the calorie deficit, but lots of these other things that I just mentioned did support me in reaching that calorie deficit. Let's get into the fun part, the benefits that I have experienced. The biggest one, the most important one, and the most life-changing one is that I get sick so much less often. And of course, some part of this is going to be my reduced exposure since I'm not going into the office at my corporate job anymore, but I'm still exposed via my boyfriend. So I know at least some part of it, and I think a big part of it is due to the L-Glutamine. Some studies have shown that supplementing with glutamine can increase our white blood cell count as well as the killer cells, which are 2 parts of our immune system. In the last 6 months, I've only gotten sick 3 times. And in a normal 6-month period, I would usually get sick about once a month. For me, this has been so life-changing and so incredible, both for my health and fitness journey, but also just my life. I'm able to do more. I feel better. I don't have to constantly be taking time off of work, saying no to events, celebrations, things that are important in life because I'm sick. When I do get sick now, I find that it's much less severe, which could also just be luck of the draw that I'm getting infections that are just less severe. But because of the ways that glutamine can impact the immune system, it would make sense to me that the glutamine could be positively improving my ability to fight off these infections. I just recently put up a vlog talking about how I was recently sick, and normally a sickness like this one would take me about a week to recover from, but it only took me a few days. I've just noticed that I've been able to get over sickness a lot faster than I normally would have. This next one is also huge. I've noticed massive improvements in my ability to recover from exercise. Over the past 12 months, I've been able to slowly increase both my exercise intensity and the amount of hours per week that I'm exercising because I have been able to recover so much better. There is some evidence that glutamine supplementation improves recovery from strength and from long endurance exercise. Considering that my longest run in recent memory was a 5K and a very slow one at that, I don't think I fall into the prolonged endurance exercise category, but either way, I have definitely experienced benefits and I've been able to increase my amount of exercise so much, which can of course contribute to creating a calorie deficit, right? Since my goal is fat loss, we have the 2 parts of the equation, right? Calories in, the amount that we're eating, and then calories out, how much we're burning. Increasing the amount that you're burning, although usually nutrition is the most important part, you can still make a significant impact on your fat loss results by increasing your energy expenditure from exercise. The more I've been able to exercise, first of all, the fitter I've become, the more confident I've become, the more more energized I feel, the better I feel, the easier my day-to-day life is, but also it's been able to help me accelerate my fat loss goals significantly. I've noticed that my stomach is so much flatter. I think this is probably due to, of course, fat loss. When you have less mass on your stomach, it's going to appear flatter, right? As well as my increased fiber intake. I didn't notice an immediate change when I first started taking the glutamine, or even if I miss it for a couple of days, I don't notice that I'm super bloated. So I don't think the L-Glutamine is the only driver or the primary driver of my stomach being a lot flatter these days and my digestion just being a lot better. I think the L-Glutamine certainly could help bloating because there is some evidence that it can support our gut microbiome and gut health overall. But the main science-supported ways to improve gut health are still fiber, hydration, and fermented foods, which I have been working on all three of those over the past 12 months in addition to taking the L-Glutamine. If your goal is to flatten your stomach and work on your gut health, I would highly recommend focusing on fiber, hydration, and fermented foods before you go out and start buying supplements, because those things can really drive a huge impact, be super low cost, and have other benefits for your health as well. I've also noticed over the last year since taking this that I have a reduced appetite. Over time, I've been able to slowly increase my calorie deficit, so eat less and less within, of course, a healthy range for fat loss. I'm being super careful about trying to go slowly, sustainably, and preserve as much muscle as possible. There's some evidence that the L-Glutamine may actually have helped with reducing or suppressing appetite. If you are having sufficient omega-3s as well, that's kind of a necessary part for this effect to take place. I am supplementing with omega-3s every day, so it's possible that the L-Glutamine did have an impact on that. But I think primarily it's just that I was able to get used to being on a diet and get comfortable with feeling a little bit hungry at times and just adjusting to eating less food overall. The last benefit that I experienced that I certainly cannot attribute only to the L-Glutamine, but it could have played a role in, is my weight loss. There's some evidence that L-Glutamine can benefit weight reduction, but I would not call it a weight loss supplement. I have been in a calorie deficit, and that is what drives weight loss, but L-Glutamine may be one of those things that can help support you in getting into a calorie deficit if that's something that you're interested in doing. I'm never gonna know for sure how much the L-Glutamine actually impacted my weight loss journey, but there is evidence that it can have a positive impact, so that's something you can keep in mind if your goal is to lose weight or lose fat. One benefit I really wish I had experienced, but I definitely didn't experience, was reduced sugar cravings. I'm craving sugar every hour of the day, honestly. I have a huge sweet tooth. One thing I haven't tried is taking it actively when I'm experiencing a sugar craving. I have heard that some people find it really beneficial. Like if they're craving chocolate or something, they'll just have some L-Glutamine, like a teaspoon of it, and that will help curb their craving. I've never tried that. I would just be taking L-Glutamine all day, every day. And I'm sure that too much of it could be problematic, so I'm just not gonna go there. But that is something you could try if you'd like. I'm gonna share the exact L-Glutamine supplements that I've tried and the ones that I use now and why I like them. But before that, I wanted to share some natural sources of L-Glutamine in case you don't want to go out and buy a supplement. If you want to try and increase these foods in your diet, beef, pork, and poultry are all good sources, as well as milk. So I personally use ultra-filtered Fairlife protein milk, so I'm not sure if the L-Glutamine is being filtered out or impacted by that process, as well as yogurt, cottage cheese, ricotta cheese, eggs, walnuts, pistachios, almonds, cashews, raw spinach, parsley, kale, and cabbage. When I was researching for this video and I found this list, I was like, this is starting to make sense why the L-Glutamine was probably so helpful for me. I don't think I'm getting very many of these L-Glutamine rich foods in my diet naturally. If you're hearing this list and thinking, okay, I don't really eat very many of those foods, then maybe L-Glutamine would be beneficial for you like it was for me. Let's get into the exact L-Glutamine supplements I use and why. So the first L-Glutamine supplement that I ever had was the nutricost plain unflavored one. Let me tell you, the taste of L-Glutamine is absolutely foul. I don't think I've ever had a more disgusting tasting powder before, but don't let that deter you, okay? Don't let that deter you. We have a solution for that. Just stay with me. I'm probably just being dramatic, but honestly, I would legitimately gag a little bit every single time that I had to have it. And this made it more difficult for me to stick to it on a daily basis. So after a couple of jugs of the unflavored nutricost L-Glutamine, I decided to try a different brand to see if maybe it was just a nutricost thing. So I switched to a brand called Sports Research, which I do really love for other supplements that I take. And I accidentally got an L-Glutamine that was fermented. I don't know anything about how the fermentation process would impact the effectiveness of the L-Glutamine. I don't see any reason why you would want it to be fermented, but also it's not something that I've really researched or looked into. I didn't want it to go to waste, so I did use up the whole jug of it. I found the flavor was just as gross on the unflavored Sports Research one compared to the nutricost one, so I realized it's probably just what the plain amino acid tastes like. Could have been random, but I also got sick during the time that I was taking the fermented L-Glutamine. That was the last straw for me. I was like, we're not doing this. I'm not messing around with this. I'm not sure if it's related. It may not have been related, but I'm switching off that one. I get a really great fish oil from Sports Research and I still love the brand, but they don't offer any other L-Glutamines besides that fermented one, at least the last time I checked. So I decided to switch back to nutricost, and this time I was like, okay, I'm done making myself suffer. flavor. I'm going to get one that is flavored and see if that makes a difference. So the first one I got was the Nutricost Blue Raspberry L-Glutamine. I love the flavor of this. It was just a little too sour for me. I wasn't expecting it to be so sour because the label does not say sour blue raspberry or anything like that. Every time I would take it, I would just like cringe because it was so sour. I decided I would try another flavor from them, and the most recent one I've tried is fruit punch, and I love it. I think this will be the one that I'm sticking with. They do use some artificial sweeteners in these, but for me, it's so worth it because the benefits I get from taking the L-Glutamine consistently are so worth a little bit of artificial sweetener for me. So I take this every single day. If I don't take it, I will usually notice a difference. I will feel a little bit more fatigued, and if I forget to take it for long enough, those are usually the times that I end up getting sick. So it may not necessarily be related, but signs point to this is a very important supplement for me. I absolutely love it, and the flavor is pretty good. You cannot taste the actual L-Glutamine at all. They've done a great job flavoring this, so I am a huge fan. And compared to lots of other brands that I've looked at, Nutricost is the most affordable. It's a pretty reputable and well-known brand. They have lots of other supplements too. So my next recommendation kind of depends on your current glutamine intake and needs. So if you're someone who maybe just needs a really small boost, Waterboy workout hydration supplements do have 400 milligrams, which comes out to be 0.4 grams of glutamine in each stick. So if you only need a little tiny boost, this is going to be excellent. But for me, I couldn't take Waterboy as a replacement for my 5 grams of L-Glutamine. I would need to take like 20 of these or something, which would not be great because they each have like 1,000 milligrams of sodium in them. So I would be having a lot of salt. I do really like these as an electrolyte supplement though. It's probably worth trying out and experimenting and seeing what you need, but it is cool. They do have vitamin B12, vitamin C, and L-Glutamine in this formulation in addition to the electrolytes, which can be helpful. Maybe if you only need a little bit of L-Glutamine, that would be a really great option because it's already mixed in there. You don't have to deal with making a cocktail of tons of different powders, buying something separately and all of that. These don't have any artificial sweeteners, no added sugar. I will link a code for money off your first order with them if you'd like to use my referral code. Thank you so much. But I do really love the company. I love the products. One thing I really do appreciate about Waterboy is that they share the quantities of each of these bonus ingredients that they add into the formulation. So knowing exactly that there are 400 milligrams of L-Glutamine in there is super helpful because then you can know whether you need to supplement separately, whether that's going to be enough for you. With any type of ingredient where there's a specific promised benefit, the dose is super important. So I really hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about L-Glutamine, leave them in the comments down below. I'm not a doctor or a healthcare professional, but I am certified in nutrition and I have researched this a ton. So hopefully I can be a resource to you and help out with any questions you have, but this is a really good one to consult a doctor about. So please keep that in mind. I'm so excited to see you soon. I have some really exciting videos and fun stuff coming up. So if you'd like to see more from me, make sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every 3 days and I will see you next time.